Mad World, what's going on? It's me, the Coach Sess, the Mad Coach. I want to talk about the show coming up this weekend, and we are talking about Fight for It number 11. Some great matchups on this card, some that I didn't review earlier, but I'm not here to talk about the entire card, but one particular fight, Jacques Gournel taking on Danny Zay. But I do want to go back and look at some of these matchups, looking at the card itself, looking at some of these matchups in terms of the teams. This is out freaking standing. I see Team Jimmo, and if I'm counting this right, they have 8 competitors on the card, 6 in kickboxing and 2 in MMA. Out freaking standing. Immortals MMA, which Jacques Gournel represents. He's just coming off a 2021 IKF win as champion again. Out freaking standing. You see Modern Warrior MMA, Elevate MMA, Atlantic MMA, the primary gyms doing their thing. You gotta love it. You got Matrix MMA with Tyler Sigmund fighting for a title. Brent Williams taking on Dylan Williams in the battle of the name. Chenarius Dooley from Team Rock taking on Travis Snyder, Modern Warrior. Out freaking standing matchups. These are really, really, really good. And of course, Highest Stand MMA is on the card. Kevin Peraza. I've fallen in love with his style as of late. Kevin is, to me, probably one of the hardest type of fighters to beat. And that's because he has a fight to the end style, a stick and move style. And so you have to crush a guy like that. And he's taking on DT Mills from Team Jimmo. Again, an outstanding matchups. I don't know if Leslie did all these by herself or if she worked with Marcelo or Jonathan. Out freaking standing again. It doesn't really matter. These are just good matchups. Body Shot Combat Club. That's one of the names that, to me, just snuck up on the scene, in my opinion. Just change it. Whether they changed their name from something else or they're new on the scene. They caught my attention earlier in February at the last show. So these are some really good matchups, really good teams on these cards. And it should be an exciting night for all the competitors. My thing is, I know, even without looking deeply in terms of every fight, just the teams being represented, I know it's a tough fight. And let me give you an example. All right, so you have Team Rock being represented from several gyms. All right, so when you see the Team Rock name, it's more of a network. And the thing is that there's kind of like a pressure to keep that name up. There's a pressure, regardless of which gym you come from, there's a pressure to outperform your brothers. And I look at last weekend at Ultimate Battlegrounds, Team Rock from different gyms went undefeated. All right. Then I also saw Team Jimmo. I think they had 3 fights on the card, same Ultimate Battlegrounds. I think they lost the first one, and then they refocused their minds and then won the rest of the night. And that's important that you pay attention to that, because then that shows you that they have a team that can make adaptations in real time. They don't have to go back to the gym and strategize. They're going to make adaptations in real time. So I expect them to have a good night. I expect them to, I don't know, maybe 7-1, 6-2 at worst, 8-0 at best. I just have a lot of belief in what Team Jimmo is going to do, can do. But I would not be upset if there were upsets. It's the fight game. That's kind of what you want. Jimbo puts the guys out there, puts it all on the line. I think that's impressive to have 8. I think the most I've ever had on one card is 7, maybe 6. But to have 8, I think that's the most I've heard of from any one team in the Carolina, South Carolina, VA, Georgia area. 8 is a lot. So I'm pretty sure they're going to have plenty of training staff on hand to handle every fighter, because I think at some point, they're basically fighting every other fight. One of their fights is Landon Bush taking on Xavier Poole from Jimmo. That's going to be an outstanding fight. I've seen both of those guys fight on film. I think I've seen Poole fight in person, but that's going to be an outstanding fight. Outstanding. Trying to walk the card a little bit and see who else I know. I've already did my review on Tad Collins and Jason Dula. I get to commentate these fights, so I get to have a lot of fun sitting there watching this. I get to be a fan as well as an active participant. So that should be a lot of fun. What else is going to be good? Again, I've never, I can't think, have I seen Kevin Peraza up front? But I know I like his style. I might have been cage side for one of his fights, but I like his style, so it's going to be a pleasure to see him up close if I haven't been there. I've trained with Tyler Sigmund before, so that's going to be fun. I love Brent Williams' energy, just from, the inbox stuff that he says to me. I believe him. It's just some guys you have to believe. I like the stuff that Danny Zay and both Jacques Gournel have both said to me. Look, I've told you, Danny Zay's got to get on the inside. And even though I haven't seen him kickbox, I watched his MMA fights. He's going to get there. And both teams have, people in their gym who have trained in Thailand. And so fighting in that box is no big deal. And I think Danny's going to get there. I think that he's going to have to let his hands go, let his clinch work for him. And Jacques is going to have to find that range, find that distance, because he is the longer, taller fighter. He's got to find that range and find that distance. And I think his coaches, Chris and Saul, have him well prepared for that. But I think the guys at GMO who also have trained in Thailand are going to have their guy well prepared for how to close that distance. And so that's going to be, I've already said it, it's going to be my show stealer of the night. I really expect good things out of that fight. It is the main event in terms of the kickboxing fights. It's the main event. And it should prove itself to be just that. I think you get a decision where both of these guys are rocking and socking, swinging back and forth, or you get one of these guys going out, going to sleep. I think it's that kind of fight. It's an either or fight, and the fans win. It's just one of those fights. The fans win. Last weekend, there was a fight at Ultimate Battlegrounds that was that way. There was a fight between Romero coming out of, I want to say, Jacksonville, and a guy named Roman coming out of MMA Institute in Virginia. It was that's the way they fought is how I believe Gournel and Zay are going to fight. These guys stood in the pocket. They took momentary breaths. They got after one another. It was just a style fight. It was just from one moment to the next, one guy trying to figure out the other guy. The reason I think this fight is going to be better is because it's kickboxing. They're standing up the entire time. They don't get to go to the ground. They're not pushing anybody up against the cage. That's going to mean something, distinctive in my opinion. I think what's going to happen is you're going to see more hands and feet let go. And that fight I was just mentioning from Ultimate Battlegrounds, that fight had a lot of hands and feet for it to be an MMA fight. So I expect this to have more excitement because it's only a kickboxing fight. And yes, Gournel is the two-time IKF champion 2019, 2021. But he's also told me that he has some interest in going into MMA, that he has a wrestling background. So with that being said, this is a good way to segue into the MMA. You're fighting a guy who has more experience in MMA. You can get a good feel what good striking is going to be as you go into MMA, and maybe learn how he closes the distance, because it is different than just being a pure wrestler. And it is different the way pure strikers close the distance on one another. So he's going to get a good feel. And the reason I say that is because Zay can't just change what he's been doing in the gym for years and years and years. There's some natural tendencies that are going to show up in this particular fight. So he's going to give Jacques a clue. Whether he win or lose, he's going to give Jacques a clue. He's going to introduce him into the world of MMA accidentally. That's the best way I could put it. He's going to accidentally show this guy how to fight or utilize his striking in MMA. So I look forward to this fight having a lot of unique sequences to it, because it has such a unique dynamic already built around it. So that's going to be an outstanding fight. My teammate, Patrick Bird, has stepped in at the last minute to replace an opponent, but then that opponent's teammate has stepped in to replace him. So this is a whole new fight. Max Shoemate taking on Pat Bird, Team Rock. So cool. It's just a new fight. Both of these guys have deep roots, but they're kind of like the fights that were not sanctioned, or it's hard to find, it's hard to prove that they fought these fights. So these are really two experienced guys. They're in the opening rounds of the MMA card. So I think this fight is just going to come down to the guy who can relax in there and have some fun. You know, haven't been in the side of the cage in a while. It's just going to come down to, hey, you know what? I want to go forward. I got to start now. I got to go forward. This is not about, there's no title on the line. There's no pressure. Nobody has any expectations of any of these guys. So sometimes fights like this can be fun because there is no pressure. And so the first guy that cracks the other guy, you know, and he says, oh, you want to play? And boom, you have another great fight. So a lot of great fights on the card. On this October 23rd, coming up this Saturday in Gaffney, South Carolina. Josh Gilliam, the kid is a freak. I've watched some of his fights from Ultimate Battlegrounds. The guy's a freak. Tyler Sigmund, again, man, this kid can pop. This kid's durable. And that's what I love about both of these guys, is that they can be under pressure and find a way to scramble out. Both of them have wrestling, so they're going to put each other in jeopardy. It's just a matter of who does it first, who does it longer, who does it more often. That's the key to this fight. And I believe that Tyler Sigmund, because there's a lot of cross training going on in the world of MMA. Matrix MMA has been known to cross train with New Millennium, and New Millennium, again, they were at Ultimate Battlegrounds last weekend. They had, if I can remember correctly, 3 fights that I saw them involved in. They went 2-1, and theirs was a split. It was they won 1, lost 1, and then picked up a title at the end of the night. It's important that you pay attention to things like that, because you're paying attention to teams and coaches who know how to reassemble the team, recollect themselves, get your mindset right, and continue on with the task. That's why I believe that Sigmund's going to win, is because if you're training around people like that who constantly put themselves in trouble, discover ways to get out of it, discover ways to get better, I think that he should be able to walk away with the win because of those factors. To adjust, you have to walk inside of that cage that night, prepared, ready to go. You get hit, you move, you cover, you counter, you do what you have to do, but you do not freeze. You do not have the luxury, the freedom to freeze, to calculate, to think about it. You have to go. And that's why we say it's go time. Saturday night, October 23rd, Fight For It number 11, it's go time. I am Coach Sess, and you've had words with the Mad Coach.